America, I want to offer my sincerest apologies. I know y'all got bills to pay. I know y'all got, you got your mortgage, got your water bill. I know we dealing with a little slick inflation right now and all that kind of stuff. Look, I apologize. I'm not a betting man. Only time I bet is on my businesses, America. Okay. So if you were out there betting, if you listened to our segment last week and you heard me say, lock it in, that Ole Miss was going to beat Bama, I apologize. Because it was over early. You understand? Man. It was over early. Now, look. That boy Kiffin seemed like he didn't believe in his team that much either. It seemed like he was looking at it like, hey, when you're playing a team like Bama, you got to go for it. And he went for it all right. That's somebody that know how to roll the dice. Yes, that's indeed. Somebody that go to the boat. Lane Kiffin is a gambling man, obviously. Okay.
Pre-game, he said, get your popcorn ready.
The man told us, get your popcorn ready. You understand? And them fools on CBS, I think that was CBS, them fools gonna pop some popcorn at halftime. They gonna have the popcorn right there. And one the black man on there, he gonna put a little it wasn't a smiling face, America. He put a sad face on his bucket of popcorn because it was already sad by halftime.
Yes, it was.
So if you bet money on Ole Miss, on James Meredith School, my apologies. Okay? That's from my heart to yours. T, they might hold you accountable as well now, because you the one talked me into it. That's what I was fooling with, America. I had picked Bama into my brother Tim G. Jacob, and his persuasive abilities convinced me to pick Ole Miss. So, T, talk to the people about that game.
Did nobody ask you to get on that island with me? You could have stayed where you were.
You were talking too good, T.
Here's what I'm going to say. Lane Kiffin ain't Hugh Freeze. Lane Kiffin ain't Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze, you can say whatever he did and you can feel how you want to feel about it. Whatever. But when it comes to them X's and O's, he ain't Hugh Freeze. Lane ain't Hugh Freeze.
Now tell you that's a big statement. Now,
no, that's
folks in the comment section gonna say Lane and did his thing with Alabama.
I bet you they miss Hugh,
and then won a national title.
I bet you they miss Hugh. Hugh wouldn't have winning that game. Talking about playing you okay. So you drive down, you get 2 fourth downs in that first drive. You're gonna try for 3 in Tuscaloosa when 3 points is good. It's not a problem. Ain't nothing wrong with getting 3 points. Unless you know it keeps your offense motivated. They're engaged because they realize they say into themselves, hey, we can drive the ball down the field on Bama.
He went for
take the 3.
How many times you say he went for it on fourth down?
I thought in that first drive, he did it 3 times.
Yeah, you're right. My bad.
And then he turned over on downs that third time. But 3 times in the first half, he went for it and turned over on down. But you just took the life out of that team. The boys were deflated. I mean, they went out there and they tried to execute whatever it was that Kiffin had in his mind about analytics or whatever you want to call it. But here's the analytics. You throw that out the window against Alabama. You take points. You take what you can get. The defense was just like, man, we back out here. Or why is this like you standing over there on the sideline, man, and you just like, okay, now I got to defend midfield. We going for it on fourth down at midfield, and I got to defend. It's deflating. Like, you got to give these boys something to work with. And Lane didn't do it. Lane went in there with the worst game plan he could have ever had. Obviously, he didn't look at tape. He didn't look at any tape. He mailed it in. He Jamarcus Russelled it.
I was just going to say it.
He Jamarcus Russell this game. And that's why he ain't Hugh Freeze. Because Hugh Freeze would not have Jamarcus Russell this game. He'd have had a very good game plan. Win or lose, it wouldn't have went down like that. Lane Kiffin didn't watch no tape. He didn't watch no tape.
See, that's a pretty bad indictment to say that a head football coach.
Okay, name the football coach in this country, college football coach in this country, that if they ask that question, name one coach that wouldn't watch tape and go out there on the field and say, "We're gonna beat a team." Who you think gonna be? Lane Kiffin.
See, this a far cry from what you was selling me on last week, man.
Because again, I forgot who Lane Kiffin is.
Right. And see, that's the thing.
I
I
forgot
remembered
that
who he was
Lane
a
Kiffin
couple
is.
weeks back. Caesar, you remember that? Remember I said that Lane Kiffin was gonna mess it up? I said that several weeks back. And I let T
Should
talk
stayed
me
on your island.
That was that Heisman talk.
All I'm gonna say is this: Lane Kiffin ain't Hugh Freeze. That's just the bottom line. He coached them boys out of that game. I don't know how you can do that, but he did it.
JoJo.
Yeah.
You rightly predicted that Alabama was gonna beat Ole Miss.
I did.
But previously you did say that you didn't think Mississippi State could really rebound from what happened to them at Memphis.
I did.
And Mississippi State said, hold my beer.
That they did. I still want you to pull that tape to make sure I said that. But we'll play that game. We'll play that game for today.
Oh, God.
I will say this. Hey, look. Mr. Rogers was dealing, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
46 of 59, 408 yards, 3 TDs.
How this man get to throw the ball 60 times a week, though, bro?
Want me to, look,
this is
as a team, they only had 30 rush yards. Is it Makai Polk?
I think that's right.
Makai, yeah. 13 receptions, 126 yards, 2 TDs. Look, whatever Mr. Will was throwing, Mr. Polk was catching. But I don't think I said that. But if I did say that,
You gotta contest that he did.
but if I did say that,
I was faithful, put it on some viewers. Y'all get in this comment section. Y'all tell this man that he said that now. Y'all saw it.
clearly, I was wrong if I said that. Quality win. It was an upset. I definitely didn't see it coming.
They needed this one.
Because I actually thought A&M was like legit. But look. They pulled they Mississippi strong, man. But I did want to talk about Ole Miss though. Because I know they lost by like 20, carried the one. They lost by 21 points. And I just want to say it's levels to this, and Ole Miss ain't there yet. That's all.
You ain't had to do that. Caesar. Now, some folks might try to take you to task as well because you said it was an even match that they tit for tat in terms of talent.
Yeah.
And Alabama said, "Hold my bill."
I believe that, man. But T made a great point. You have to have coaches, man, that set kids up for success. These young men can only execute so much against Alabama. Alabama is great, but you know what makes them really great? Their coaching staff. You know what makes Lane Kiffin really good? When he's in the same room as Nick Saban, and Nick Saban lays out what's going to happen for practice that week and for game day. So that's why Lane Kiffin looked good when he was in Crimson Tide red, right? Because he was in that atmosphere, in that culture where you step outside of that and you start to revert back to your old ways. Let me tell you what I mean. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine, and he was texting me about Lane Kiffin going for it on fourth down over and over again. Even when he went for fourth down on his own 30. Okay. And he says, okay, on his own 30. And he said, well, the game is getting out of hand. So he has to go for it because he realized his defense can't stop Nick Saban. Okay, that's that's a school of thought. I understand that. But let me ask you this: if your defense can't stop the Crimson Tide from going 80 yards, how are they going to stop them from going 30? Like in the mind of a coach, that has to be a no-brainer. You can't even be negotiating that in your mind in the moment. That's something that you lay out during the week of prep to say, if we are on this yard line, we're punting. Here are the spaces, scenarios, situations that we would be willing to go for. On your own 30 against the number one team in the nation is never that. That's not you going up against Tennessee and going for it on your own 30. So, like, that's what I mean by your coach ruining the game plan for you. I don't even know if that was in their game plan. That was just him being emotional about the whole thing and
He
making it
he
about
blamed
him.
it on analytics. He said, "Live by analytics, die by analytics."
Well,
That's what he said.
And there you go. Rest in peace to
R.I.P.
Lane Kiffin. Rest in peace to Lane Kiffin ever being considered an elite coach, because like those are the moments that people are going to remember when the next time your name comes up for a big job. People are going to remember that stuff. Like that's ridiculous.
This the last big job he gonna get.
It's ridiculous. Like it's ridiculous. When you talk about Mississippi State, I do think some of their win, and I don't want to take like their win away from them because they earned that upset victory. But some of that is Jimbo Fisher being Jimbo Fisher. Like that's who he was at Florida State. He'd blow games that he had no business losing. I will tell you this though, the young man Will Rogers III is something special. He played at Brandon High School right here in the metro area. And I think the reason why he's able to thrive the way he is under Mike Leach is because they really did play a similar offense over at Brandon when Tyler Peterson, was his head coach. So he has that ultimate confidence, but he also has already sort of a working knowledge of what an air raid offense looks like. So for him being able to come in and Mike Leach coming in and saying, I'm going to put you in this offense. I'm going to give you the opportunity to throw it 50 times a game, where that may be something that another quarterback may not be used to. For him, that really is like what he does. I just think he's getting bigger because he's a naturally smaller kid. So I think he's naturally getting bigger physically, but I think his confidence is growing. So that's a good thing when you run an air raid offense because everything runs through your quarterback. And their defense is good enough to always keep them in a game. So I don't – Mississippi State is kind of like one of those teams where I can't figure them out, but I do think they have the tools to be in a game moving forward unless they're playing Alabama. Because, like I said, you just saw what they'll do to anybody.
And ironically, they got Bama coming up.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes, man. But like what I learned from Mississippi State is that, like I said, when I said they started off too late against LSU the week prior, well, I think they figured it out this week that they had to get off to a fast start, and that did them some justice as the game ended. And then for Ole Miss, man, you just have to hope that your head coach realizes that, like, just be a professional, man. And, like, don't hit me with the analytics. No analytics told you to go for it on fourth down to your own 30 against the number one team in the country. Like, that's ridiculous. And if there is an analytic that tells you that, then stop using the analytic and use your common sense, period.
Now, Caesar, as someone who has been in those rooms, somebody who's interviewed Hugh Freeze directly, I want to ask you this, and we probably need to do a whole segment on this in the future. You know what I'm saying? To really deep dive on this. I know I'm catching y'all off guard, okay? But T really got my juices flowing with this, got my wheels turning, you know what I'm talking about? How would you compare the two, Hugh Freeze and Lane Kiffin?
Well, they're two totally different personalities. I think Hugh Freeze, people looked at him as like this super humble guy, but I don't look at him that way. I think he is very much on the side of being more of a narcissist, if you ask me. So him and Lane have that in common. Don't get me wrong. But here's what I'll say the distinct differences and why it's important. Hugh Freeze, in those moments of wanting to go for it on fourth down, has a calmness about him to say, I have to play the long game. I have to play the long game. When it comes to Lane Kiffin, everything is emotional. It's get your popcorn ready. And then you saw in the interview, he said he told his offensive coordinator after he made that comment, he puts his headset on after he was interviewed by the reporter He said, "Y'all get your pop." He puts his headset on and tells offensive coordinator, "Y'all better score a ton of points because I just said something ridiculous." Well, dude, like
what?
you see what I'm saying? Like you can't be in that space in the biggest game of your career. In that space,
Dang.
you have to be the ultimate.
Hey,
You have to be the
why
ultimate.
did you talk me into this? You hurt my credibility with this, man.
You have to be the ultimate chill guy, man. So again, and that's why I made the analogy of Lane being in an Alabama Crimson Tide locker room and meeting room versus him being the head. Because over in Alabama, if there's a tight game and he does that, guess who tells him, "Man, we're not going for it on fourth down on our own 30." It's Nick Saban, the calm guy in the room. Crazy, but calm. There's nobody in the Ole Miss locker room or meeting room to say, "Lane, we can't go for it on fourth down on our own 30. It doesn't matter if we're down 21-0. If they score here, it's 28-0. Yes, your analytic may tell you that we're gonna get this fourth down, but if we don't we're burying our team. Whereas I know there's an analytic that can prove there's a less chance of them scoring from 80 yards out or 70 yards out than 30 yards out. Man, that's common sense stuff. And you can't, I don't care how he sells it. That is common sense stuff that anybody on this panel as a head coach at Ole Miss in that moment would say, punt the ball, period.
I just want to say one more thing. So Saban has had under his tree Kiffin, Sarkisian,
Kirby Smart.
So let's just take them. This is 3 sons, right?
Yep.
There's always one son that you just got problems with all the time. Lane's that one son. You could get all 3 of your sons Corvettes. Saban got that money. That motherfucking Lane Kiffin gonna wreck that son bitch. Well, you know.
That's the difference. I mean, it really is. And here's the stat that I think we all should remember the next time, and I'm gonna remember it. I knew it, but I felt that in this moment, Ole Miss had enough talent, and maybe Lane Kiffin would grow up. But Nick Saban has never lost to one of his former assistants. He's never lost to him,
and I knew that too.
Yeah,
I knew that stat because that was one of the most impressive stats that I've seen. Because think about that, y'all. These guys have worked for this man, so it's like they can go to their team and say, "I already know what he's gonna do in this situation. I know what he's gonna do in that situation." But it's like, kind of like I said in a video I just published when they were talking about Ali, who had Parkinson's when he fought Holmes. Okay,
yeah.
But the quote still stands. Ali said, "I taught him everything he knows. I didn't teach him everything that I know." You know what I'm saying? And that must be the case with Saban and all these boys. It ain't like these boys that went to some rooted programs. These boys have gone to good programs. We talking about Georgia, and we talk about Ole Miss. These boys are recruiting as well, and they just can't beat this man.
Yeah,
they just can't beat him.
Yeah,
that's crazy, bro. Tell you, don't do me like that anymore.
They got their job. They all got their jobs because their father is who he is. One of them just reckless.
Yeah.
Do y'all think? And I'm gonna leave it at this, because again, we need a deep dive on this probably once the season is over and we reflect on the season. Do y'all think Kiffin really gonna catch this kind of smoke? And if y'all have seen the smoke, either from folks that y'all know texting you on your timeline, let me know. Do y'all think Kiffin gonna catch the smoke he deserves for those calls, those decisions? Or do you think folks gonna let him make it because he's a big name coach coaching in Mississippi? This is why I asked this. Because when I look at the Mississippi State pro basketball program, I don't think Ben Howland gets that kind of smoke.
Right.
With him having, I think, 3 Final Four appearances and stuff like that. Ben Howland has had a lot of talent in Mississippi State basketball. And to be transparent, 2 of my players have been up there. And he didn't use my players correctly. And that's on me. That ain't coming from my players. That's my opinion.
Right.
Fan base, don't go at my boys. That's my opinion. Okay. But he don't really catch that. It's like people just happy to have him there. Happy to have Ben Howland. Do y'all think Lane Kiffin would catch the smoke that he deserves? Because he deserves some smoke now.
Yeah.
Because that was crazy. I've never seen a coach do that. Okay, maybe go for it once and you take it, take a risk like that.
Sure.
This guy in the first drive, like T said, went for it 3 times. And then came up with no points. Kept going for it. What y'all think? You think they're gonna let him make it with that just because he Lane Kiffin?
I would say they would let him make it all the way up until he lose to Mississippi State.
Oh, if he do that in the Egg Bowl, it would be different.
If he lose to State,
Right.
he's gonna hear about it.
Good point. T, what you say?
He's gonna lose to Mississippi State.
Ooh.
Oh.
That's
Because
good.
I don't like Leach either now. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna put that on Front Street right now.
Yeah.
I don't like Leach either, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No.
He just think he just throw the ball around. Like I said, this kid,
Sandlot.
and Caesar, you gave us some great information on the youngster, you know what I'm saying? But you still throwing the ball around 60 times in the SEC.
Yeah.
That's that Texas Tech offense, man.
This ain't the Big 12. Okay? This the SEC. You're gonna run into some defenses. I don't know how you're gonna beat nobody throwing the ball 60 times in the SEC. So, but we saying we taking Leach over Kiffin right now.
I would, simply because at least with Mike Leach, he knows his philosophy. He believes in his philosophy, and he has studied his philosophy in terms of real analytics. So what works and what doesn't. It may not work all the time, but at least he can give you quantifiable data that says in these moments we should do this, right? With Lane Kiffin, he says that there are analytics out there, but it's really just him in the moment, just feeling it. Listen, America, I'm not telling you that Lane Kiffin is not an excellent offensive football mind. He really is. He can draw up plays, and he's a really good play caller too. I'm just telling you, when it comes to game management, don't believe me, don't believe us. Go back and look at the Alabama game for yourself. And as a person at home, say, did that make sense? On fourth down on your own 30? Forget the fourth down on your 30. If you see all the other fourth downs he went for, are you going to beat the number one team in the nation calling the game the way that he called it? There's no way. There's no way. Because what you did in that game, you simply said, and your school of thought can be two ways. Either we have to keep going forward on fourth down because we need more points, or you're simply saying that if we don't get these, we're going to give extra opportunities, extra possessions to the number one team in the country. That just does not make sense to me. You do not come into a game saying, I'll gamble, and if the gamble doesn't pay off, I'm going to give extra possessions to Nick Saban and company. Guys, that's not how you beat Alabama. That's not how you beat Mississippi State. That's not how you beat anybody. But you for sure don't beat the number one team in the country that way. That's, for me, that's the bigger issue that's going to bite Lane Kiffin in the butt in big games. When you put him in those situations, he's going to panic. He's going to start getting your popcorn ready, and then he's going to let you down. And unfortunately for Ole Miss fans, they're going to have to deal with that for a little bit.
Well, America, y'all chime in and tell us what y'all thought about Mississippi State pulling off the upset against Texas A&M, and Ole Miss getting blasted by Bama. And tell us what y'all thoughts are on Lane Kiffin going for it on fourth down. Do y'all think he was right to take those gambles? Do y'all think he really put his team behind the 8-ball with those gambles? Put it on something. My kids wanted me to tell y'all to make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me across all social media platforms, like the videos, and share them. Did I forget anything?
And turn on the post notifications.
Y'all heard them. And also, visit Statement Tees, LLC.com, and shop with us. That's Statement Tees. Every t-shirt you wear
Makes a statement.